Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rebecca Smekla from the Department of Educational Technology. Excited to be here with you this afternoon for our Khan Academy and Khanmigo for electives. Before we get started, we're going to go through just a few housekeeping. We will be communicating today through the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to ask those in the chat. You'll see a couple of our team members, Noelle and Stacy. They have the wrenches by their names. They'll be answering your questions. And if there's a question for Betsy, we'll throw that up on the screen. Feel free to like our channel and subscribe so you can get stay up to date on all of the happenings within our district for EdTech. We still have a few more sessions this afternoon after this one concludes. So if you're interested in Khanmigo for science or social studies, and we also now have Canva available for our students. So stay tuned for those sessions this afternoon. All right, I'm going to bring up to the screen the amazing Betsy Lease. She is our presenter here from Khan Academy today, and I'm going to pass it over to you, Betsy. Thank you for being here with us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, being part of our Khan Academy and Khanmigo for electives teachers. So hopefully today, as we go through this, no matter what you teach, you can find something in Khan Academy and through Khanmigo that you can use in your classrooms to engage your students with instruction. I'm Betsy Lease. I'm a professional learning specialist here at Khan Academy. I do live in Central Florida. Today, I'm kind of subbing in for some of my colleagues. Those that you see on the screen, Tamsin Storin is your professional learning specialist strictly for Palm Beach County, as is Elizabeth Hadley, and she's your district success manager. Both of these ladies, hopefully you've seen them on your campuses or even online, helping to for all Palm Beach teachers to make sure that they can best be equipped to help their students use these programs. We also have our Palm Beach Ed Tech team. This knowledgeable team is really dedicated to all of the regions of the district in supporting implementation of your digital tools and even pedagogy. And today we are going to take a look at the Khan Academy course content, using those Khanmigo teacher tools to differentiate and to create and to plan, all that fun teacher stuff. We're going to take a look at how to use those with state standards, and then even using Khanmigo learning activities in the elective class. All right, so one little misconception that some people sometimes get is that Khan Academy and Khanmigo are two separate things. They're actually one platform. Khan Academy has been around for a really long time with the mission to provide a free world-class education to anyone, anywhere. And our new AI-powered Khanmigo tools came out just about a year ago, and we have been so excited to introduce those for free to our teachers across the United States. We also, just like Palm Beach has, we also have a Khanmigo intended for students to really act as a tutor whenever a student might need that little extra help. So this is what you're going to see in your platform. When we go in and we take a look, you've got your Khanmigo for teachers. These are tools that were created for teachers by teachers. So when you see things like discussion prompts and exit tickets, that is speaking our language, right? Then we've got our Khanmigo for learners. We've got activities like a writing coach, tutor me, play with vocabulary words. So lots of really great things for us to take a deep dive into today. The first place we're going to start is in our Khan Academy courses. If you will do me a favor and log into your Khan Academy course or your Khan Academy website, I'm going to show you how to access these courses, and we're going to take just a couple minutes to look around to see what we have for you to leverage in your classroom. Once you get to that Khan Academy homepage, you're going to see your district synced courses are already in line with your regular schedule. So if you have multiple periods, you'll see those on there. And then your students are already loaded in the platform as well. So really one-stop shop, we've got you, you're ready to go. The next part I want to explain is how our courses are framed or put together. You have got for each one a course name. Of course, this is Algebra 1. And then you have got underneath that units. So just like we would use in our normal classrooms, you've got the content that is all put together and chunked by the unit. From there, we've got lessons and different ideas about each of those lessons. So you've got linear equations with variables on both sides, and then we've even got equations with decimals and fractions. So we've done a good job of really chunking that content to make it digestible for your students. From there, you're going to find that there are practice exercises, articles, videos. You've got a unit test, you've got course challenges and mastery challenges, all of which are assignable in Khan Academy. And that's something that we're going to look at today as well. How do I assign this content? So we are going to jump into that platform, if you will. What you're going to do is click on Explore. And then take just a minute or so to look through all of the different offerings that we have at Khan Academy. There are over 110 different courses, and I want you to look for one or two that best fit your needs. We've got a lot of partner courses here that may meet your needs for electives, where we've got art, music, we get into the natural histories, really specific things like NASA and NOVA labs. We also have economics and we have the social sciences as well, reading and language arts. We've got a lot of really amazing life skill courses as well. So we've got Khanmigo for students where they can learn about it by taking a course. We have got financial literacy, internet safety, growth mindset. We've got a lot of different computer classes. We've got a lot of AP content in here as well. And then one thing that you'll also see is that we have best aligned courses in our math. So I'm going to give you just about 2 minutes to find a class that you like. For example, I'm going to click on this digital SAT and take a quick tour through that class and click on buttons and really see how that course is framed and start to think, how could I use this in my class? I'll give you 2 minutes for that. All right, y'all. So let's keep moving on. You might have seen that while you were practicing, I was playing around a little bit. And one of the things that I was doing was playing with our Conmigo tools in the course content. So I'm going to go back here to explore and I'm going to pick the music class. Within music, something that really caught my attention is under Music Basics, Unit 1, this lesson about reading music. I never learned how to read music, unfortunately, but guess what I'm going to be watching soon? So, one of the things that I can do directly from here is I can use those Conmigo teacher tools to create additional supplements for the video that I have right here in front of us. And I'm actually going to go back one and I'm going to click on that music basics and then again into reading music. Here we go. Wanted to make sure I was on the right place. So I could watch this video, of course. I can always chat with Conmigo over here. Let's say I want him to summarize the video. I can do that. There we go. It explains how musical notes are placed on a staff, which has 5 lines and 4 spaces. So it helps me cut some time with watching that video. A couple other things I can do from here is I can use these Conmigo tools across the top to create a couple engaging activities for my students. So the first one I want to do is going to be the exit ticket. So I just click on exit ticket. And one thing I can do here is I can select the grade level. Now it's going to automatically go to college, but let's say that I teach 8th grade music and I want my 8th graders to learn how to read music. So I'm going to switch this down to 8th grade. And then Conmigo has filled the rest in for me based on that video. Then I hit write an exit ticket. And Conmigo is going to take that right away and it's going to write an exit ticket. Draw a treble clef and label the lines and spaces with the correct note names. Hand in your slip as you leave the classroom. So pretty cool. Going to save you a lot of time there. Let's take a look at one more. Let's also look at, we will go back. Let's look at some musical terms. So from this musical terms, one thing I might want to do is create a multiple choice quiz. The students are having to read quite a lot in that lesson. So I want to make sure that that I'm able to ask them the right types of questions. So let's say that I have, let me go back one real quick, glossary of music terms. Multiple choice, just so you can see it. I'm going to call this musical terms. And one thing that Conmigo will do is if it has the content, which in this case it does, it will say, hey, use our stuff. Or you can provide your own content, which we're going to look at a little bit later. I want to use the lesson that I was just on, so glossary of musical terms. I'm going to keep it at a 9th grade level, but I also know that I can go from 1st grade to college. And then you can adjust the number of questions. I only want 4 questions on this quiz. So then Conmigo goes forward and creates a 4-question quiz for me. And there it is. It also, one of my favorite parts, is it includes the answer key for teachers. A couple things to notice on here as well. You've got some buttons, some blue lines up here in the corner. You can export this to Word, PDF, or Google Drive. That's my favorite. You can print it, or you can even share the content with a colleague by clicking copy link, and then that's going to be sent directly to that, or it'll set you up to send directly to a colleague if you would like. Maybe you've got some collaborative planning going on there. So I wanted to show you how each of those Conmigo tools are available right away when you get into that course content. Now we're going to start looking at the Khanmigo teacher tools to use along with your state standards. So we are going to dive in just a moment, but I want to give you a quick overview. Once you're in there, you're going to hit Khanmigo and teacher tools. And you're going to see the screen that I have here. All of the Khanmigo teacher tools are broken down or chunked into categories. You have all of them. You have differentiate, create, plan, support, and learn. And we're going to look at tools in each of those. Before I jump in, I wanted to also show you that we have lots of supports available for you. We've got lots of different resources. They're created specifically for Palm Beach that you'll have access to at any time and after this presentation as well. But right here, we've got some Khanmigo support prompts for teachers, just things to think about as you work with the AI in Khanmigo. All right, so I'm going to jump in and I'm going to go to those teacher tools. So Khanmigo followed by teacher tools. And you can see here, we've got just what we had on the screen before. Let me make that a little bigger. All right. One thing that you can do, which is a new feature, is if you use any of our tools frequently or you really like something, you can hit it with a star and you're going to see that go to your My Favorites tab. You can also look at all tools, plan, create, differentiate, support, and learn. We're going to go back to plan and we are going to play what I love to say play because I think this is actually very fun. So we're going to play a little bit with this and I'm going to really just demonstrate how these work for you. So the first one that we're going to look at is going to be, I'm going to grab some of my, one moment. I'm going to grab some standards to use, of course, because we're really looking at how to use standards. And since we're on electives, the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to write a lesson plan using a digital photography standard. Not sure if we have any photo teachers in the house with us today, but the first thing you're going to do is describe the topic. So I am going to skip over some of the matches that I got from Khan Academy, and I'm going to provide my own content. Then I'm going to take my CTE standard of understanding the intellectual property rights, copyright laws, and plagiarism that apply to creative assets. Now, I know in these standards, we also have substandards. I could put here under notes that substandard, which is to analyze various types of shared work in dealing with all forms of intellectual property online as well as physical. But you can also stretch it. You can push it a little bit and you can make it really special for your students. So if you have a group of students in period 2 that really love music, why not bring music into that? Or you have another group that really loves NFL, why not bring those types of things that will engage your students even more? And you can type those into the notes. So I'm going to create this lesson plan and you're going to see Khanmigo go to work. Khanmigo is going to create a really comprehensive lesson plan that you can choose to do from top to bottom, or you can really treat kind of like a buffet. What parts do you like? What parts maybe don't you want to do right now, but you might want to use later? And you're able to make changes as you go through as well. So let me give you a little walkthrough for this. Khanmigo is going to give you a learning objective, both student facing and a standards based. Then we get into the learning activities. So we have a warm up, then we have direct instruction. Notice here how we have some choices about the different topics that we use. We move from direct instruction to guided practice and then independent practice. So each of these lesson plans is going to include that gradual release of responsibility. We also have an exit ticket along with some of the suggested answers you should be getting from your students. The last part of this are going to be resources for you, the teacher. So a guide to differentiating between advanced and striving learners. We've got some notable definitions that you could use as that week's vocabulary, and then any materials that might be required. Something that I think is really unique and very cool about Khanmigo also is that this doesn't have to be the end all be all. What you can do is if you see something that you'd like to play with a little bit more, if you highlight it and ask Khanmigo, you can discuss it with Khanmigo, you can try something different. You can make specific changes to it as well, which in this case, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to ask Khanmigo to include ideas about um, advertisements. And then let's see what it does. Okay, so I know that my students we don't want to just stick with that personal photography, but now we've got advertisements that are worked in here. Okay, you can export this again, print, or of course share it. Now let's go back to our teacher tools and let's take a look again at plan. And this time we're going to look at some discussion prompts. We want our students to have that student to student discord in class, but sometimes it's a little difficult to come up with that on our own. So we want this to be standards based, of course. I'm going to grab a culinary arts standard. So I've got maybe a 10th grade culinary arts class, and I've chosen a really interesting one. And that's going to be demonstrating workplace communication skills. Who knew that was a culinary arts standard? I love it. Listed underneath that standard are some things that are going to really make our discussion a little more specific. So I'm going to grab those from the CTE standard as well. And I know I had copied something here that I want to pull aside. I'm going to take that number out. I don't want to confuse Khanmigo too much. Just polish it up a little bit so that what Khanmigo gives me, I can use right away. And here's some things I can talk about to get that conversation going or in my culinary arts class about the communication required of work. Discuss the importance of punctuality, dependability in the workplace. Explore appropriate personal, professional settings and employee theft and importance of integrity. I love this because it's really tuned into the content as well as the standard. And again, you've got that kind of buffet style. So if you only like this one and want to use it, you can. I start to put my teacher brain on and I think to myself, what a great small group research project or a walk around gallery wall. So the possibilities are really endless on this. And again, you can use any of our state standards and that content. Now we're going to pop over to playing around some more, modeling a little bit more, and we're going to take a look at the multiple choice quiz. Right. What a great way for us to assess our students if we have taught a lesson and or used the lessons or the videos within Khan Academy to really test and see if they understand that content. So for this one, I have chosen a Spanish language. So I'm going to put here Spanish. And then here I am going to put in, let's say we're at 7th grade, and I'm going to ask for 5 questions. Providing my own. Sorry, I'm going to start over. There it is, recognizing words and phrases. I'm going to put that standard in again. I'm sorry. One thing that I want to show you, and the reason I picked the Spanish standard here is because I want it to recognize words and phrases. I'm right. I've written that standard 3 times now. It'll definitely get it. But I want to include all the questions in the Spanish language. So let's generate that quiz. And here we are. Now, I can't say that I can read this, but look right there, you're not having to do the extra step of translation. Now, I also, when I was preparing for this, went ahead and put this in English as well, and it did still align with the standard in terms of asking what those words and phrases meant in familiar topics. I really liked that. And I think it's so cool. Conmigo is really confident in Spanish and in Portuguese. So feel free to use those translation tools at any time. All right. Our next tool that we're going to use is going to be one that's really transferable across all content areas. And that's going to be informational text. When I taught English. But as I was trying to connect so many different ideas, I was always looking everywhere on Google for any piece of text that my students could read to introduce a topic or to dive deeper into a topic. This tool is going to create informational text for you in a variety of areas. I'm going to grab a 1st grade art standard So I'm going to say here first grade. And then my topic is going to be that standard, which is describe the use of art to share community information. And since they're little ones, I want to connect it to home. So let's include Palm Beach as a topic. And I only want it to be very short. These are first graders. So it's gonna help me write this informational text. All right. So art is a fun way to share news and stories in a community. In Palm Beach, people use art to tell others about events like fairs or parades. So it's created this wonderful piece of text for us. As I move on, I want to copy this text because I want to show you what Khanmigo can do with the other tools that you've already created. I'm going to pop over here to differentiate. Let's say you're a first grade art teacher, but later in specials, you've got some fourth graders coming in. So we're going to call this community art. And all I'm going to do is paste that text that Khanmigo helped me to generate. And I'm going to go from that first grade to fourth grade. So I'm not losing any content. What I'm really doing is upping that text complexity level so that my students will be able to really tune into the text at their level. Right. All right, let's keep going. So we've got more teacher tools here. I want to look at real world context generator because although in electives, your students choose your class, sometimes it is a little difficult to make them make that connection across from what they do daily in class to how it's going to relate to their life. So for this one, we are going to look at ninth grade, and I'm going to choose a project lead the way standard. And it's really extensive, and it's all about using engineering, processes of engineering, to introduce concepts of systems and systems thinking as a mindset to consider how the world is interconnected. So it's a very long standard, lots about engineering, but I want to write some ideas on how I can explain to my students why this is important. So it's called Systems Thinking and Engineering Design, Real World Applications and Impacts. And here's why the students need to learn this or how they could apply that to the real world and maybe even a career one day. We've got city traffic management, water supply and conservation, and renewable energy systems. So it's got us exploring renewable energy systems and how to think about that as well. So these would be a really great, maybe right as the class is ending, a great way, instead of using an exit ticket, but to have your students connect your content to something else in the real world and their lives. All right. Back to our teacher tools, I want to just highlight a few of the tools in support. You've got an IEP assistant, a SMART goal writer, and then if you're a secondary teacher, you can summarize your student chat history using that AI to generate it. We also have the last tool here, which is going to be Learn. Now, you have this really fantastic tool called Refresh My Knowledge, as well as a chat with GPT-4. And I love Refresh My Knowledge because it gives you, as the teacher, some place to really work out your thoughts in your lesson. So, if I am an agriculture teacher, what I want to do is I'm a little dusty on this industry of interaction with population of food, energy, and environment. I've been up at night really thinking about how I'm going to teach this to my kids. And I teach this to, let's say, in this case, sixth grade. So I write in sixth grade. My caps lock went on, but Conmigo can still power through. All right. It started by giving me 5 concepts for that topic. And then Conmigo and I are going to either learn through quizzing or learning through conversation. And Conmigo is always going to keep in the back of its mind, basically, that I'm a teacher and that I want to also think about how my students will react to this. So now it's got me really challenged. Could you explain how population growth affects food production? And then it's going to ask me some questions to really make sure that I understand that content before I step in front of students and before they start asking me a bunch of questions that I might not have been prepared for. All right, so those are our Khanmigo teacher tools. Hopefully, as I was showing you these, you were able to play a little bit on your own, or maybe you can use some time in the day to also play with these. The next part of our time together is going to be assigning and monitoring with our Khan Academy course content. We're going to jump into Khan Academy, but I wanted to give you a quick preview about what this looks like. So when we first joined our time together and I had you look at some of the classes, I do want to point out that any of that content that you looked at is assignable by you, the teacher. So it gives you a little bit more control in what your students are working on, in aligning it to your curriculum or your scope and sequence maps. And then it also allows you to generate some data that you can use for reevaluation or for interventions later on. All right. I'm going to go into, again, back into Explore. No, I'm going to go back to my main page and I am going to go to my SAT prep class. And then I need to make sure that I assign the right content. So I'm going to find here my SAT reading and write. Actually, let's do math. Let's do math. SAT math class. And then notice here that the assignments look just like the content in that actual course. So you can choose here what you want to assign. Now, you are going to make sure that you're in assignments, assign. And let's say that your students are really moving forward and you want them in medium algebra. Now, you can assign that whole unit, but I do want to caution you that assigning an entire unit, you may get a lot of content in there, a lot of lessons and videos and exercises, etc. No problem in doing that. If you want to assign that, you click Assign. And what's going to come up is similar to what we saw on that PowerPoint screen. You can assign a different question set for your students or the same question set. You can assign this to multiple classes at a time. If you want to, you can even differentiate and start to assign to very specific students if you'd like as well. Some other ways to use assignments would be instead of assigning the entire unit, to work within these lessons, these breakdowns. So I'm in solving linear equations and inequalities in the medium level. Now, again, I can assign all of that. This time I'm only assigning 4 activities. If I just want my students to work on the exercise, I can also assign that. So there's no limit to how much or how little you assign your students, but it all is going to be found in that Assign tab. I want to highlight real quick, way down here at the bottom, you're going to find what's called a course challenge. The course challenge is also assignable, but the course challenge serves as a diagnostic assessment. The students are going to get 30 questions. It's going to take about 30 to 45 minutes, but they're going to get a really good sampling of the types of questions, that content, from the lesson, the standards aligned in this sort of test that will then fill in their bubbles. They'll be able to say what proficiency level are they at? Are they at mastery? Are they at proficient? Do they need to work a little bit more in that attempted category? I think the course challenges are often overlooked, so I wanted to make sure that I brought that to your attention. Many of our teachers like to use that as a beginning, middle, or end of the year, or a combination of those. Once you have assigned the work to your students, you are going to go into scores to see how they did. So you can see here all of my assignments that I've given my students are now represented across this assignment scores dash. This I love because it looks just like what we're used to as teachers, right? It looks like a grade book. And you can very easily see how each of the students did here. You even notice as I scroll my mouse over that I can view a report of what each of those students did as well. This is downloadable into a CSV, but you can also use this as some item analysis. If you click on that assignment, you're able to go in and look at the questions. It's listed by those that your students missed the most to those that were missed by the students least. And you could use this as a remediation tool. So you could use this as a quick think aloud with your students. You can draw straight into it. You can even give hints and work this problem through with your students. If you want to, you can truly use it as an item analysis tool where you're looking to see just how specific students did in that content. So let's go back to our class. Another tool that you'll want to use under assignments is going to be Manage. And Manage will show you what assignments you have assigned. If you've scheduled any, they're going to be there. And then you're also going to see who completed it, how many attempts, their score, and then you could even see a report of their work or download it. And then you can also see that response report again. This is the Manage tab is also where you can make any changes that you need to. So if you need to edit something, make a copy. If you need to delete it, you do all of that from the Manage tab. All right. So those are just a few different places within Khan Academy that you would be able to manage your students through assignments and then be able to pull in that data in order for you to use that to quantify with a grade or to inform your own instruction. Now we're going to move on to the Khanmigo learner activities, and these are accessible to the secondary teachers in Palm Beach County. And I want to start off by showing you these Khanmigo learner activities. There's lots and lots. Let me go into the platform here. I'm going to go this time into learner activities. And you'll see the same thing that I had on my screen. We've got Tutor Me. So you'll see Tutor Me Math, Science, and Humanities. What should I learn next? Help me focus, help me prep for the civics bee. I love Practice My Knowledge for students, especially right before an assessment. It gives them a place to go to get some of those unanswered questions answered. We've got Writing Coach, Craft a Story, Brainstorm admissions essay, and check for problems in my admissions essay. Got any seniors? Those essays are due very soon, if not already. Get them in there. They can debate some topics. So if you have middle school students, we've got all of these wonderful places where our students can debate in a nice, safe environment. They can chat with a literary or a historical figure. Who knew? You can just kind of pull that out of the AI and have a nice little conversation with someone like Harriet Tubman or Charles Darwin. And then one thing that our teachers are really liking is what's called word safari. So you're able to take a set of words that are for your lesson or your unit, and then the students explore through that vocabulary to really get in a little deeper. Vocabulary is difficult to teach. It's difficult for our students to want to learn it. So the word safari is a fun place to do that. We also have Ignite My Curiosity, and then a few different places here for navigating college admissions and financial aid. And what you can do when you're in learner activities, you can always switch over and toggle to the student mode, and then you're able to use those activities either as a teacher or as a student. But what we want to look at is how do you assign the Khanmigo teacher activities? So I go back into my class, and you're going to see right under assignments where we just were, you hit Assign Khanmigo, and then you have several options to choose from. You can assign Writing Coach, either of the Tutor Me, Practice My Knowledge, Chat with a Literary or Historical Figure, or Ignite My Curiosity. And the assigning works a lot like it does with the prior, with the content. And for this, I think I'm going to do, let's do Tutor Me Humanities. So I click on that. Now you can always preview an activity as well. I'm going to hit Assign. And then here's where you want to make sure that you are as specific as possible. These directions are going right in front of your students so they know what to do with Khanmigo. It also helps our AI, Khanmigo, to pull from all of the correct places to assure that the students are getting that content that they need. So in this assignment, we're going to call this theater audience. And I'm going to grab based on a standard, a theater standard, I'm going to ask my students, or I'm going to tell my students, to chat with Khanmigo about the interactive effect of audience members and actors on performances. Now, for today, I'm going to keep it kind of simple, but you're welcome to go as detailed as possible. You can say, make sure you have at least 4 interactions. Make sure that you talk about the difference between stage and film. So there's a lot of places that you can go with this. Then you, of course, make sure you have it in the correct class or classes. You have the option for students, and then the start and the due date. I'm going to go ahead and assign that out. And then I'm going to head on over to my Manage tab. And just so I could find it, I'm going to grab, I switched this up. And here's my theater audience. And if I click into this, I can now see what my students will be doing. And notice here it says, you have an assignment in your class, SAT Prep. My assignment is theater audience. It's due tomorrow by 8:59 p.m. That's very specific. And here's the message from my teacher. Chat with Khanmigo about the interactive effect of audience members and actors on performances. Are you ready? Let's get started. So the students hit that button and it says, let's dive into the topic of theater audiences. How do you think the presence of an audience can influence a live theater performance? Now, we know what our students would do. We always want to encourage them to have quality conversations with students. So I'm going to act like a very good student right now. I'm going to say an audience makes the theater more lively and outgoing. Okay, and let's see what Khanmigo says to that. Absolutely, the energy and reactions from the audience can make a performance more dynamic. How might actors adjust their performance based on audience reactions? And then I would continue to go along with this. Now is a really good time to point out that this is intended to be a conversation between the student and Khanmigo, that AI. Khanmigo will not give students the answers. And it also knows when students need a little bit of push. So you have one of those kids in your class that says IDK over and over. It may say, okay, I get it. You're a little tired right now. Let's talk about what an actor's performance is. Maybe just dull it down a little bit in order to re-engage that student. So that's what the student will see, and that's what the students will work on as you have assigned it. Now, I'm going to go back here to manage, and you're going to see it looks a lot like the content assignments where I can see which of my students have completed it and when, and I can even get a copy of that student work. But over here in the scores, you'll be able to actually see a breakdown of how they did. Now, I didn't assign that to my students, so I need to go back over to my PowerPoint to show you exactly what that looks like. One moment. Here it is. So this is going to look like exactly what you see on the screen. Khanmigo's going Khanmigo, sorry. Khanmigo is going to give a basic summary of what that student did while they were working on the assignment. Were they on topic? Were they off topic? In this case, the student was on topic. The student engaged with Khanmigo to practice multiple integers as per the assignment directions, and they attempted several multiplication problems, receiving guidance and corrections from Khanmigo. So it's giving you a nice little teacher summary that you can just move your mouse right over to see how each of those students did. If maybe you have a student who is showing that they appeared off topic, or you just want to dig a little bit more, you can always click on the three messages here, and it's going to show you the interaction between Khanmigo and the student. So you can really get kind of that qualitative data in order to inform what that student does next. Couple last things before we call it a day. I do want to talk about a few of our resources that we have embedded into Khan Academy. And again, these are often overlooked, so I just want to highlight these. If you go back to that teacher dash that looks like this, where your classes are, you're going to go to resources. And then what you're going to look for here is anything that has to do with Khanmigo, right? So we have got this awesome Khanmigo note taker. So I'm going to click on that. And what this is going to do, it's going to make me a copy that goes directly into my Google Docs. And then that way it belongs to me, and I can manipulate this note taker however I want in order to maybe put it up into Canvas or into Google Classroom. But notice here that I've got some additional promptings for me as the learner to think about before I work with Khanmigo. So before the conversation, what are my questions? So a little bit of prep. During the conversation, what are some of the key points that I drew out? And then some reflective work after that lesson with Khanmigo. If I keep looking at all these wonderful things, we're going to also see here Khanmigo prompts and sentence frames. Again, I'm going to make a copy going directly into my Google Drive. And you've got here different frames that students can use as they work in those different tools. So here's some frames for Tutor Me Math and Science, for Tutor Me in Humanities as well. And that really is going to help your students to get used to using the AI and get used to using it in the right way as well. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those. One last thing before I let you loose is please consider following our Florida team on our social platforms, which is called Con You Dig It Florida. We've got a Facebook and an Instagram page. And in each of those, what we do is share stories across how people are using Khan Academy and Khanmigo in their schools in Florida. And we'd love for you to also send us some ideas if you ever want. So feel free to follow us there. And then on that note, I thank you so much for choosing to be in this Khan Academy for elective session today. Please reach out to anyone, either Tamsin, Elizabeth, myself. There also is a specific email dedicated to Palm Beach if you need that. And then also don't forget about your EdTech team. They are fantastic and they know this stuff too. So thank you so much. And with that, I am going to turn it right back over. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Really appreciate you being here with us. Just a couple of closeout things. If you have any additional questions for Betsy, please put them in the chat and we'll pull her back up in just a moment. But I also, I didn't press slideshow. There we go. If you're looking to get some in-service points, you can for attending today's session and completing the implementation. Please make sure you are registered for the course inside of eLearning in order to get those in-service points. We also have a session going on at 2 o'clock for science and for social studies with our Khan Academy and Khanmigo team. And one last session to close out the day is our Canva for student use. Stay in touch with us. Follow us on Twitter, join the mailing list, visit the website. All of these sessions are recorded today and will be available on the website and on the YouTube channel. And last but not least, please consider submitting a proposal to present at this year's technology conference that will be held on February 24th, 2025. And we're really excited to have it there this year, and we hope to see you with us. Our Khan Academy team will be live and in person, so you get to meet some of the faces that you've seen on the screen today. From the EdTech team, we appreciate you all. Feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions. We're always happy to help. Let's see if we have any final questions before we go. Let's see. Did I have one more? Let's see. Quick question from Rosemary that maybe you can help us out with. Betsy, not quite sure. She's unable to view the features. Rosemary, not quite sure, but you know what? Why don't you just shoot me an email and we will get your question answered. Definitely want to help. But for everyone else, hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll chat soon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.